With the mayoral election just 4 months away, lots of campaign promises are in the spotlight, including Zohran Mamdani's proposal to make housing in the city more affordable. Democratic nominee for mayor has called for radical changes that have the real estate industry fearing the worst.
And joining us now to tell us what is at stake is Jason Haber from Compass Realty. He's also co-founder of the American Real Estate Association. Thanks so much for joining us again.
Of course. Good to see you.
All right, so we were talking about this issue of affordability here in the city. So many people, this affects a lot of people. Zohran Mamdani wants this to affect 1 million apartments. Talking about freezing that rent there. First of all, how likely is that to happen? And then what happens if it does to the realty here?
So he's talking about freezing the rent. What does he say about freezing the cost? You don't hear about that, right? Where do you think that cost goes? That cost has to go somewhere, and that's going to be borne on working class New Yorkers who are going to see higher rents. You know, when my daughter was growing up, eventually, my wife and I had to sit her down and say, there's no tooth fairy, there's no housing fairy. And some people haven't learned that lesson, and they just assume that the costs just vanish. They don't. Someone has to pay them, and this will result in high rent increases for working New Yorkers.
And I think a lot of people say freeze rent sounds good, but it doesn't apply to all apartments in New York.
No, this is only for, it's a great point. This is only for rent-stabilized apartments. And to your question earlier, sure, he can appoint to the Rent Guidelines Board if he's elected mayor. They could freeze the rent for rent-stabilized apartments, not for free market apartments.
Sure. And this is not new. Bill de Blasio did this twice when he was mayor. Talk to us about what you saw as the effect from him doing something like this.
Yeah, so rents went up on the free market, and also the quality of the housing went down. It's harder to maintain buildings. It's harder to maintain apartments when you're locked in on a rent. So net, it didn't work out so well then. It's unlikely to work out again well in the future.
A lot of people are saying they're going to leave the city if he's elected mayor. How likely is that? And then what would that do to the real estate market?
Well, this is a great point, and I'm glad you brought this up, because I have been hearing from people who are talking about fleeing the city. Those are working class New Yorkers who may flee the city. Why? Because it's going to be too expensive for them. I know there's a lot of talk about millionaires and billionaires fleeing. Some may make this their pied-à-terres and leave. I think a lot of them will ultimately stay. But what I worry about are working class New Yorkers who can't afford the higher taxes. You know, he wants to raise corporate taxes in New York by 58%, from 7.25 to 11.5%. Plumbers, electricians, spa owners. These are working New Yorkers who could not afford that. And guess what? If they have those extra costs, they're going to pass it on to the consumer, making New York less affordable.
It's interesting because obviously Zohran has brought that issue up multiple times, and his whole argument for this is that New Jersey is doing the same thing.
Why are we comparing? Listen, unless we're talking about Bruce Springsteen, I don't know why we're comparing New York to New Jersey, but it won't work here, and they will leave, or they will have extra costs to pass along to the consumer. Remember, it's a 58% increase. It's unimaginably high.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us maybe about other ways to help this issue of affordability here in the city? Because right now we haven't talked about solutions yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a supply crisis here in the city right now. If you build it, they will rent it. There are over 1,000 vacant lots in the city just waiting to be developed. There are plenty of strategies you can implement to ease the supply burden. We have a 1.4% vacancy rate in New York City. In Atlanta, it's 9%. In Atlanta, it's 7%. We could do more to ease the vacancy rate here.
Not to turn you into a political expert also, but I mean, you're in the world of real estate. Is there anything the other candidates could have said or can still say to, make their ideas of affordability better? So
listen, in the primary, I believe that Assemblymember Mamdani used affordability as a shield, and it carried him to victory. I believe that in the general election, it can be used as a sword metaphor against him to contrast what affordability really means and looks like in this city, because I believe his plans will make the city far less affordable, especially for his own supporters.
Yeah, that trickle-down effect, it really is a reality. What could happen.
It all sounds good, but when you boil it down and look at the facts, he will make the city less affordable.
Well, maybe you need to join on one of these campaigns real fast before we get to November. Jason, always appreciate you coming in and chatting and making us understand what's really happening.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.